Bonjour and bonsoir to all of you around the world. I'm with the fabulous Elizabeth and Spencer. This is a historical day in the Rodeo Drive of Rutherford. This is the real place.
Yay!
Woo! We are celebrating today, dear friends, us coming together as families and as the passion we have to continue and build on the vision of Elizabeth and Spencer.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers indeed.
Cheers.
To so many great years of a phenomenal winery in the heart of Rutherford. And dear friends, for some of you around the world, this is the finest wine area of Napa Valley. This is the historical place. Elizabeth and Spencer will tell us all about their great story. But in front of us, we have Beaulieu Vineyards. Remember, Georges de la Tour came here in the early 1900s. We have Inglenook with Francis Ford Coppola and many other fantastic estates in Rutherford. And on the other side of Beaulieu, we have Raymond Vineyards as well in Rutherford. So we are joining hands to create a fabulous present and an incredible future together. So Elizabeth, what is this gorgeous, fabulous historical building we sit in front of?
We are standing in front of the original post office for the town of Rutherford that dates back to 1872. When we took this building over, it was tumbling into itself. And Spencer and I love preservation and history, and we decided to give it new life. So we redid this tiny little building and gave it new life, and it is the tasting room for Elizabeth Spencer. So
It's so cute and adorable and charming. Look at this.
Well, you love history yourself,
For
so
sure.
you have many wonderful properties with a deep sense of history.
Yeah,
one
but
of-
1872 we didn't have.
Yes.
That's a key date for many reasons, specifically in the old world. But in the new world, because this is now Elizabeth Spencer. Very exciting. So
Cheers.
tell us about this amazing wine. Actually, this is my first time celebrating with it.
Well, we've been trying to work on a sparkling wine project for 15 years, and we finally did it this year. This is a beautiful blend of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier, and made in the classic brut style, and people have been loving it.
And I recommend, as we have a lot to celebrate, we gotta do the usual victory. Woo! There we are. Now come inside into Elizabeth and Spencer world.
It occurred to me that we made this wine probably to celebrate and we didn't even know it.
Here we go. So we now in this historical phenomenal building. How did you first discover this amazing destination in the heart of Rutherford and then decided to establish your Elizabeth Spencer Winery?
Well, the brand had already been going for some time, but it was Spencer who actually found this. Why don't you tell us?
Well, I remember coming home in January of 2005, and I said, Elizabeth, you know, there's a little building in Rutherford right across from the post office that I think would make a great tasting room. And she said, oh, I never noticed it. And then when she saw it, she said, wow, it looks pretty rough. And I said, yeah, but it's only 500 square feet. So we should be up and running in 4 months, and how much could it cost? You know, it'd be great.
Well, and I said to you, if that could be a tasting room, it would have been taken by now. How come it's still sitting there?
And I said, well, you know, most people don't follow up. And I said, all we need to do is find out from the county whether it's permitted, which it was. And then I tracked down Gary Wyatt, who was the agent for the owner. She lived in Fortuna, which is up in Northern California. And we reached an agreement very quickly.
So fortune came right away. From Fortuna to the fortune of being able to buy the building immediately. That's how you did it?
No, we started by leasing it for 5 years with a 5-year option. Because Ruth, who didn't want to sell it initially, said we're not selling it. And then within 6 months, she said, yes, we're going to get an appraisal and we will offer to you first.
Fantastic.
And I'll just add that Ruth was approached by some of the very big neighbors around here with big names, and I'm not naming names, who wanted to buy the property. And she said, no, not for sale. So when we leased it, she said, don't even ask me, it's not for sale. But she liked us so much because we were a husband-wife, we were a small company, and we made sure to give her a photo album of all the changes we were doing to the property. And she loved what we were doing and appreciated it. So when it came time to sell, we visited her in her home, and she said, I want you two to have the chance.
Wow.
We were very excited.
Well,
So-
we'll have a toast to that with your magnificent
Indeed.
Thank you.
Sauvignon Blanc. Dear friends, if you haven't tried Elizabeth Spencer Sauvignon Blanc, and we'll hear from their vision, this is to the height of some of the top right bank, you know who I mean, in Bordeaux, and probably to me one of the best Sauvignon Blanc in Napa Valley. So I'm so excited that we're trying it together
Cheers.
again.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Cheers. So how did that Sauvignon Blanc start?
That's your story.
Mm. Mm.
Well, we started out as a Cabernet house in 1998, but in 2005 we looked up to Mendocino for Sauvignon Blanc. And then over the years we ended up making 3 Sauvignon Blancs. Sauvignon Blanc from Mendocino and from Napa Valley. And we are big fans of French wines, especially the Loire Valley wines. And those were our models at the beginning, and they still are. And we're just thrilled to be able to make wines that go extremely well with food, that are balanced, you know, and we've been able to make them consistently over the years so that our customers will look for those Sauvignon Blancs from Elizabeth Spencer.
And I've been one of them, dear friends, and I'm so impressed. So, talking about Elizabeth and Spencer, would you share with us how this amazing love story happened?
Oh my.
Because it's pretty unusual in the world of wine, Elizabeth and Spencer. I've mentioned that to you many times. Husband and wife, name on the winery. And I'm going to say something to that end, and I know my parents are watching. They started the winery as well in 1961 together. But strangely, my mother said, no way my name should be on this label.
Oh.
And we're having a debate with her and your mother that we're going to add her name now to the winery because she was the founder, like you both were, together started the winery. So, you know, she cannot escape that. So how did it?
Well, most husband wives probably have slightly different stories, and I'll start with mine. We might put different accents on different syllables. So when I met Spencer, I did marketing consulting for quite a few very famous brands here in Napa Valley, and we were meeting on the slopes of one of those famous hillsides. But Spencer had arranged to meet the owner, and he said, let's pick the date. And she said, well, my marketing person will be there. And Spencer said, if it's all the same to you, I don't want your marketing person to be there. I'm sold on the wine. I just want to meet you. And she said, well, she'll be there. So my remembrances of early days with Spencer are like movie moments. I can remember what the sky was like. I remember what I was wearing. And I met Spencer on a beautiful February day on the Howe Mountain area.
Ooh.
And I remember the suit I was wearing and the way it felt. And I met this tall,
I do too, actually.
and I met this tall, handsome gentleman from Virginia.
Ooh.
And
With those ravishing blue eyes.
yeah, well, the funny thing is we both were involved with different people at the time, but we started a professional relationship, and we liked each other and enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah, via phone and fax in those days.
Those were the old days, yeah. And then, yes, that's funny. I saved all the faxes he sent to
Wow.
me. So, anyway, it was a lovely, beautiful love story, 3,000 miles apart. And I remember the first time he was coming back after we had had this long relationship through faxes. And he said, I want to take you to dinner. And this is really how it started, the romance. And he said, you pick the place and we'll just go. So that was by June by then, yeah?
It was July of 1994, and a restaurant had just opened in Yountville. And So I picked Elizabeth up on Hunt Street in St. Helena. We now have a wine called the Hunt Street Cuvée, which we can talk about later. And so I picked her up and I said, where are we going? And she said, well, we're heading back down Valley. And I said, oh, great. She said, we're going to a restaurant that a friend of mine's boyfriend just reopened. And I said, oh, well, what's it called? And she said, it's called the French Laundry. And I said, and I'd never heard of the French Laundry in July of 1994. And I said, wow, what a weird name for a restaurant.
That's for sure.
You think they're going to make a go of it?
So I thought this was a business dinner thank you, right? And as he picked me up on Hunt Street, we drove right to turn onto the Silverado Trail at the stoplight. And Spencer leaned over and he kissed me on the cheek. And in my mind, I'm saying, I don't think this is a business date. And we got to the French Laundry. We had a beautiful table upstairs. All the doors were open. And again, movie moment. I was wearing a navy blue slinky little dress, and Spencer kept asking the waiter for more clothespins. By the end of the night, he had made me epaulettes with clothespins in my navy blue dress.
She looked like an admiral.
Spencer and I have had so much fun, and believe it or not, we love each other, and we love working together, and we love being together. We're that unusual couple who has made this work, but it's because we have rules. We don't talk about business before 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m. We must ask permission to talk with each other after those hours.
This is a great advice for husbands and wives in the same business, right? And now, so that's 1994. You established Elizabeth Spencer in 1998. So that was very quick from the moment you first had that fabulous kiss. Admiral, Elizabeth was kissed, and then you started the business. So how did that work?
You want to take on?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, this is the husband-wife part. Spencer was able to sell his fine wine distribution business back in Virginia and move out here full-time. We got married in the middle of all that. I won't
Got married in Reno.
And dear friends, which is amazing, is Spencer was owning a firm we knew very well, and who became a wholesaler as you sold it. And we had a fabulous relationship with that wholesale company in Virginia, and we did amazing things at the time. And this is when I was starting in the U.S. Side of the business more. So I have fond memories of your firm, all the way back to the early 90s.
We like to say we're lifers in the wine industry. We don't come from another successful business. We've always been in wine. I mean, me going back all the way to 1978, and you back to what time?
1973 is when I bought my first case of wine in New Orleans. Wow. In those days, you could buy wine when you were 19.
That's amazing.
You could actually buy at 18 because they hadn't changed the laws.
I think we need to go back to those rules.
I think so too. So, it started with that, and here we are 46 years later.
It's crazy.
So 98, you decide, okay, it would be great you sell your business in wholesale, you move to meet Elizabeth, of course, west to continue to conquer her heart, naturally, which you succeed to do very well, and then you start your winery.
Actually, we started talking about it in 1997 and developing wines and blends and the ideas and the brand name, the label, all of that. We started, the first wine came out with in 1998. And we decided to put our names together to give it the sound of a proper name and a person.
For sure.
Because we wanted to honor both of us and not make it Elizabeth and Spencer. But over the years, we have had so many club members with the last name Spencer. And we have many Elizabeth Spencers in our mailing list who have joined us.
A couple of months ago, we actually had on property at the same time on the same day 3 Elizabeth Spencers, which was just...
So when you name Elizabeth Spencer and they show you their passports or their ID, what do you do to them? Besides hugging and kissing.
A lot of hugging and kissing.
Do they deserve a special bottle?
We take lots
Yes,
of pictures.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So
That's amazing. I think the presentation, as well, as we're going to discover more of the wines, we're going to show you, dear friends, the incredible outdoor. And remember, you are in the Rodeo Drive, in the Beverly Hills of Northern California and Napa Valley. And we'll go outside and show you the package. But I love how you combine your two names because it's very true. I'm sure many people said, I've met Elizabeth Spencer, or where is Elizabeth Spencer? They never think it's a couple.
Yeah, that's very true. And may I point something out on this particular label? It's got the hearts and swords right in the middle. I know you have told me how much you appreciate it.
For sure.
So originally we said that couples who work together spar. They often don't always get along, so that's the swords. But the little hearts mean that it's all wrapped up in love and respect for one another. So it promotes the idea that you don't always have to agree with another person, but if you have that respect, it's all embodied in the hearts and swords.
I love it. I love it, and it creates, as you can see closer here, a beautiful balance of the E and the S and the two beautiful hearts. And I've noticed you put the heart sometimes on the left and the right, or sometimes on top or at the bottom.
Well, it's mostly the way you see it right now, but it could be altered, absolutely.
Well, I was seeing the hearts everywhere, so the love of
Here we go.
the both of you. So, why Rutherford?
Oh, well, we could both speak. You
Very,
go.
very easy. When I moved to California with Elizabeth, I could not get a post office box in St. Helena. So I got one across the street. So I would come.
So then you decide to buy the old post office.
So I kept this building, this post office, had been for rent for at least 7 years. Big sign out front, for rent. Call Gary Wyatt.
Wow.
And I'd look at it 3 or 4 times a week when I stopped in at the post office. And that's when I came home in January of 2005, and I said, Elizabeth, I think we ought to rent that little building, turn it into a tasting. And she said, what, are you serious? And I said, yeah, I think Alan Greenspan's wrong. I think there's something wrong with the economy. He's been saying everything is great, but things are weird. We need to diversify our selling channels. We need to have a tasting room. And sure enough, we found out a few years later what happened.
Yeah.
And we were here, and it was fantastic. Everything kind of froze up, but people kept coming. And they kept coming to Rutherford, and when we started, we only had this garden out here. We didn't have the developed Rutherford Green.
Yes.
And then we bought the property in 2006, and we inherited a couple of tenants. And as they left, we managed to move into different areas on the property. And it's just been a wonderful, kind of fateful thing. Sister Fate has smiled on us for many, many years.
But also,
and she continues to do that.
Rutherford is the heart of the Napa Valley.
Yes.
And historically,
Indeed.
it's very significantly important. There's a depot across the street right now that members of our community are talking about how can we resurrect this. In the early days, this was a major trading post for the entire Napa Valley. The train would stop here and there would be many goods from that area, and people would come to Rutherford to buy their supplies. And that's why the importance of the post office, the depot, and you have the other historical partners in this area. This really is and was the heart of the Napa Valley in the early days.
And that's the Rutherford Crossroads, really.
Yes, exactly.
This is one of the major, most strategic road to cross from 29 to Silverado Trail, dear friends. And one of the most scenic, one of the most beautiful, because what I love as well about Rutherford is you have amazing estates, and it's not overly crowded as well with homes. So you have incredible views, and I think it's the time, dear friends, we take you to the fabulous gardens and the outdoor tasting rooms, because let's never forget, I know for many of you in France or in Burgundy, we can only be outside 4 months of the year. Here it's reverse. So Elizabeth and Spencer developed an unbelievable destination where you're in touch with nature. We're going to be in front of the beautiful garden. And it's December and you're going to be amazed. It's like the south of France, as I love to say. Very similar to, the French Riviera feel, Napa Valley. So shall we go and taste some reds outside?
Let's do that.
Yes.
So dear friends, as you can see now, in one of the most charming place of the estate, which is really fabulous in California and Napa Valley, you could be outdoor most of the time. Isn't it special?
Well, it's December and we have blue skies. And by afternoon, I won't have a wrap on because it'll be pleasant enough.
I know many of you are very jealous. I know there's snow. You're next to the fireplace. You're looking at us in the dream, the south of France of the world, as I often call it, the California world, right?
Yes.
So how did you come up with those great ideas, those beautiful beds, and tell us what's happening here?
Well, I think it's appropriate to share this garden that we're in here was Elizabeth's idea. She wanted to create a secret garden right off the road.
Yes.
So you can see through the lattice, you can see in here, but you can't really tell what's going on other than there's some people in there having fun. And that was her whole idea, was to create this secret garden. And we didn't do this until 2008, after opening in 2006. And then in 2009 we did the cottage, which is behind us here, and then in 2015 we did the raised beds that are behind us. But all of it was kind of part of a piece, but it started with Elizabeth's vision of we're going to have a secret tasting garden.
What I love is that people drive in here from
Yes.
Highway 29 and 128. That's where we are, right at the crossroads. And they say, my goodness, you're so far off the beaten path. We had no idea you were here. And that's part of that magic. You
For
want to
sure.
create that.
And I think you were visionaries. We just left 2 years of finally living more outdoors and finally spending more time in wineries, tasting phenomenal wines in spite of the heat outdoors. And I think we're getting used to it and people are loving it. So you anticipated what happened because now everybody wants to be outdoor, right?
Well, we want it to be warm and welcoming and very approachable. We like to take the wine seriously, but not ourselves.
Well, so let's have a toast to a very historical wine. I'm excited because Grenache is really one of my favorite, and obviously what constitutes the foundation of the amphitheater of the south of France. You know what the Roman brought to us, as well as what we took from southern from us, the Spanish, who came with the Grenache.
Yes.
So this is kind of a foundational wine. So how did you get the idea of this great wine?
Well, so we started our Grenache program in 2005 by buying grapes from the Bartolome brothers in Mendocino. They had a 3-acre block of Grenache that at the time nobody was really interested in, but we were interested in it. And then in 2010 we made our first rosé of Grenache, which makes a fantastic rosé. But the backbone of our program was this red Grenache, which is one of Elizabeth's favorite wines because it's so versatile. You can drink it in the winter, you can drink it in the summer slightly chilled. It goes on with almost anything. And if you're having different red wines, it's a wonderful lead-in wine, which we'll see right now because we'll follow this up with another wine from actually Rutherford.
So as a couple, besides the great advice before 7 and after 7, you've been in business together, still loving each other, and I can attest that we spend some fabulous time together and we'll spend even more to come. What's your recipe?
Well, we are each in charge of different things, and the person in charge is in charge. The other one doesn't get to comment much, so you have to segregate those things. Now, we can have a difference, and we can have that meeting, like, let's sit down and talk about this.
Yes.
But Spencer and I are very, very aligned in our values, our goals, and the way we look at things. That's not to say we don't always agree. That would be not natural.
No, and on the wine side, it's very interesting because I'll work on the blends with our winemaker, and then I'll come home with maybe 4 or 6 options, and I'll tell her, you don't really need to talk about them. You just need to tell me which one you like the best, or the top 2, or something like that. And I can't remember a time really where we disagreed. You know, I kind of went, okay, that's easy. Let's move on.
So we're the lively couple who does blind wine tastings before dinner almost every night.
Well, that's
in our
exciting.
kitchen.
And I need to confess,
Do you and Gina do that?
like crazy. And not that we make wine together, except a few, but it's very similar to you. We bring wine home and we ask each other's opinion without often discussing price points or necessarily the intention. We assume that if the wine is up to the intention that we have in our mind and our soul, and hopefully in our palate, that the other person will assume that it's exactly on par. But often, we disagree.
Yeah.
And this is great, I think, to disagree, because don't you think that builds a greater level of conviction into what one does?
Absolutely.
So how do you, yes, Spencer?
No, I was just going to say that one of my favorite things, which I haven't done in a long time, is to put the same wine in two different glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
To see if she's really paying attention.
So Spencer does have a sense of humor. He's a little sneaky sometimes, I have to say. That's very true. But it keeps it lively.
So let's assume, and we're counseling all of you, dear friends. It's pre-holidays. So whenever you have issues with your significant other, that's the time you can reflect on what Elizabeth and Spencer are telling us. So when you indeed disagree, which obviously happens, how do you come to an agreement, and what's your process of bringing each other closer to one another and say, yes, let's go?
I think for me, it's time. We each say what we think, and normally we have to let a day or so go by
Yes.
to see how we feel again. And often we'll come closer to a central decision because we'll talk it through too. So it depends on what it is. But in the end, we are quite aligned in the decisions. So we may come from the way of deciding differently, though.
And you go forward only if you agree together and say,
So
we
he's
go.
in charge of certain areas, and I'm in charge of certain areas. Spencer is more involved with winemaking, the grower relations. I'm more into the marketing and the way things look and feel.
yes.
And in the end, I think we've broadened each other's perspective because we do come from things in a different way. And we have different methods of solving problems. So, yeah, what I like to say, it's a yin-yang relationship, and it makes one circle. So we come at it with, we're two fully independent people with our own opinions and life experience.
Yes.
But we come together and create a better with the whole together.
And sometimes we actually have to sell each other on the ideas. And selling your spouse on an idea, sometimes, it's not as easy as it sounds.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
the most recent example is when we introduced a new wine last year from the 17 vintage, which is called the Hunt Street Cuvée. And she said, I don't think we should call it that. And I said, I think it's a great name. I think we should mock it up on the label, see how it looks. The story is not just based on a true story, it is a true story.
That's right.
And I said, this is great.
The famous
And-
street reminder where they kissed, dear.
Yes. So she was not on board, but I think she warmed up to the idea once she saw it on the label that our designer, Chanda Williams, did. I think she kind of said, okay, I like it now.
Yeah, but Spencer's a little tricky sometimes, I have to say. He went to some of our staff and he said, don't you think this is a great idea? And he had them try the wine and see the package, and then they all...
No, I just had him try the wine.
Okay, but they came to me
Yeah.
and they said, wow, we really love this idea. So it was a good idea.
Well, I needed support. And, our staff is very good. They're very knowledgeable. And they said, no, Spencer, that should work well. And, Elizabeth kind of, she decided, yes, it would.
Well, you can tell we have fun with this.
That's right.
And have a sense of humor. That's the other important
That's the
ingredient.
key.
If you don't have a sense of humor, forget it.
And now, which is so great as well, as we talk wine and an amazing, phenomenal vision for quality wines, you've surrounded yourself with a great team. Again, Sarah, a lady that has been with you for over a decade as a great lady winemaker. So again, another lady and man team, and her assistant, as well, who is a wonderful sommelier
Yes, yeah.
with a great background. So tell us about how you went about this, because it's really unusual, dear friends. Again, Elizabeth and Spencer without and you'll explain us why. And then you mirrored the two of you as a winemaking team as well, so you balance opinion.
So Sarah and you share quite a reference point for wine.
Yeah, so the way we ended up with Sarah was we went to one of our longtime friends here in the Napa Valley who was a very, very well-respected winemaker. And we said to her, we said, you know, we're looking for someone. Is there anybody you could recommend? And she said, yes, there's this young lady who you might want to talk to. And she had come from a food and wine background. She came out of New Orleans. And
You had that in common.
we had that in common. So I remember talking to Sarah the first time, and we talked about wines that we liked. And we like the same kind of wines, because I made it clear to her. I said, you know, we're not chasing scores. We care what our customers think, because we want them to like our wines and buy them. But other than that, they need to be wines that we feel really good about and that we like. And she was totally on board, and it made it very easy, very, very easy for us. And when David Harris joined us a couple of years ago, he's a sommelier. He's a very talented guy. You know, he's very reserved, but he's a wonderful man. And you know, his knowledge fits right in with everything that we're doing.
I would say everybody in our team has multi-diverse backgrounds, and a lot of people are cross-trained in the business, so they can handle many different roles.
That's right.
And they bring terrific talents. I mean, we find out that some people are great cooks or great gardeners, other people have social media skills or photo skills. We try to find out what those are and emphasize them within the team if we
That's
can.
wonderful.
So, yeah.
Elizabeth Spencer is a family.
Absolutely.
Right.
Much as your
For
concept of family
Very
together.
important.
Yeah.
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 Now, as we taste this Grenache, this is fabulous. What would you, I know you love cooking, both of you, and you're great hedonist and very much into the culinary arts. So what would you pair this incredible Grenache with? And who would you cook? Who would cook of the two?
I can see we both have ideas.
Please.
So one of the favorite things about this one is I love to serve it chilled in the summer.
Yeah.
And it's just got such great fruitiness. And what I love it with hamburgers in the summer, or pizza. It's good with a salad niçoise even. You could go towards fish with this wine.
Yeah.
It could carry into salmon, certainly. A charcuterie plate would be great too.
Yeah.
It's so versatile. It's also a great wine for turkey and duck and all the poultry, but great for Thanksgiving wine. And I think it's a crowd pleaser because it's got great fruit, it's enticing, a beautiful finish, but it doesn't hit you over the head with great big tannins.
That's right.
So it's softer, it's more elegant, it's more feminine, I would say.
When I was in Montana last month working with our distributor, I had a comment from one of the customers, because they look at the wine and it's not terribly dark, but it's, you know, it's got good color. And he tasted it and he said, you know, that wine is deceptively interesting.
It is. And I know, Spencer, you're a big fan as well of the Cru du Beaujolais.
Yes.
So does it make you, is it one of your vision to somehow be close to that as well?
The short answer is yes. We also make another Grenache from Sonoma Coast. It's only from a 1 acre block, so we only make maybe 150 cases tops from there. This one is more like a really good Village Beaujolais. The EXS Sonoma Coast Grenache is more like a Cru, more like a Morgon.
Yeah. Wow.
Or my favorite, it's not really like Saint Amour, but I love the name Saint Amour.
For sure. Well, we'll bring some, and we'll do some pairing with the Momessin because we have an amazing cru.
That's a great.
You know, that's
Yes.
the oldest
Yes.
house,
Yes, right.
one of the oldest house from 1865 in the Beaujolais, and we do all the cru. And we were just discussing Saint Amour as being one of the most really charming.
Yes.
I mean, very seductive wine. So I'm the only one, obviously, finishing
Oh,
my
my
glasses
goodness.
today.
Oh.
So now, of course, Napa Valley Cabernet. And as you described the Grenache so well, I'm so excited, dear friends, about this wine. I think this is a benchmark in Napa Valley, and what Elizabeth and Spencer have done over the years is creating an amazing, so well balanced wine. And I really commend you on that. And why I wanted to touch on, you know, lady and man team, you know, as my parents started, as we continued with my sister, we're very balanced. And I really believe, you know, the two palates complement each other. And I could see that in your wine, both of your taste. I know you take leadership, as you said, in winemaking, but I feel there's that very seductive, eloquent, sophisticated style. And this is the Napa Valley Cabernet. And then you go to Rutherford and other appellations. So tell us about your vision here.
Well, this wine, as it has been for the last 23 vintages, is one of the wines that's blended to a house style. And the house style is, you know, it's very much Napa Valley. It has elegance and power. It's not over the top in any way. And I think the best description for it came from a Frenchman who was here in 2008. And we were sitting, I think, over on the other side of the courtyard. And we were pouring the 2006 at the time. And he said to us, he said, you know, this wine is definitely Napa Valley Cabernet. But if it was from Bordeaux, it would be from Margaux.
Woo!
We love that.
Which is my favorite appellation in Bordeaux. So I kind of went, wow. And I didn't even have to pay you to say that.
You know, I think he followed by saying this wine is like little velvet slippers running down my throat.
Really?
Didn't he say that too?
Somebody said that a long time ago. But I think it was about Burgundy.
And I just want to say, Spencer has an excellent palate memory. He was a chef, a formal professional chef in a life way back before I met him. And he's so good at imagining flavors and tastes and combinations. And he made our very first Napa Valley Cabernet many, many, many years back. And he's just got a great palate memory. Yeah.
And I'm a big fan. And as a European, you know, we always look at Rutherford really as kind of the benchmark in the world of Cabernet. And I say in the world of Cabernet as a complement to Bordeaux, not as either or, in addition to. And maybe you want to tell us a little more about why Rutherford you feel is what it is as a region, as an AVA, and where you see the potential.
Well, Jean-Charles, you're too young to remember this.
Oh, thank you.
But
Hey,
Elizabeth,
you're so kind. Well,
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth was not born if I'm too young.
Elizabeth and I grew up drinking BV Cabernet Sauvignon, drinking Georges de la Tour when we could afford it. And those were our benchmark wines. So when this property became available, you know, we said, wow, we're across the street from, you know, perhaps the most iconic winery in the Napa Valley.
Yes.
With Andrei Chelachev as the winemaker. And we drank those wines and we never forgot them. And, you know, they still are amazing. And it's amazing that we can be here across the Rutherford crossroads from them and, you know, be making wines from Rutherford, because even though the Rutherford bench is across Highway 29 to the west, they're very good vineyards all over Rutherford, and they have their own mark.
And we talk a lot about Rutherford Dust. You know, we're all part of this wonderful society as well as the Rutherford Association, as we are with Raymond literally a few meters away here. What is the style of what is Rutherford dust? How would you characterize it? And I know you get the question all the time. What is that dust that people refer to?
Honey? Have at it.
I'm deferring to you as the director of winemaking here.
See, that's a great couple language, isn't it?
You know, I'm going to say that it's a great tagline, and it's very elusive to try to describe it.
There's a mystique.
But
Yeah.
there was a very famous Supreme Court justice who was asked to describe something, and he said, I don't really know what it is, but I know when I see it. In this case, I know when I taste it.
Well, that's a beautiful and well said. So now, what is, besides winemaking and cooking and gardening and designing and doing all those great things, you have another estate in Montana.
Yes.
What is your other passion?
We have a cottage in Montana.
Yeah. So what is your passion besides wine? Is it outdoors? Is it fishing, hunting?
Well, we both love being outdoors. We both love to walk. Spencer's a great swimmer and a tennis player. I'm more of a speed walker, and I ride my bicycle. But we love Montana.
I bought her a new bicycle for her birthday this year.
Oh, here
An
we
old-fashioned one. Anyhow, well, we
So I
love.
had to buy one for myself, too.
go. It's not a bicycle.
It's
you
not
were
a,
too
no,
No,
no.
no.
I've
It's an
always marveled
old-fashioned-
at people who could do that.
This is not an electric bicycle. So
No,
we-
he's talking about a bicycle built for
I
two.
know.
Yeah,
what he's
built
talking
for two.
about.
But I think Spencer, as you will notice as you saw him, has long legs, so it must not be the same rhythm when you cycle together.
That's why we have individual bikes.
Well, you might guess that Spencer played basketball in college too, just by looking at him. So anyhow,
Yes.
but Montana is a retreat. You know, we love Napa
Yeah.
Valley. Napa Valley is our home. We live in St. Helena. That's a given.
Yes.
Montana is a place where there are bigger skies, there are less people. We love hiking, we love fly fishing. We've been trying to do more of that each year. We love going into the Yellowstone National Park, and we've got quite a few friends in the town of Livingston where we have our bungalow. And it just gives us a refreshing contrast,
sure.
a counterbalance between Napa Valley, California, but then Montana. They're just two different feelings altogether.
And there are lots of people in Montana who like good wine.
We're inviting all of you. And it's a very trendy place these days. It's amazing how much migration, right, to the
Yes.
state of Montana
Yeah.
has happened.
Yeah. Well, we didn't do it because of that. It was just an appealing
Yeah,
place.
for
We
sure.
like the peacefulness of it, and we love small towns. St. Helena is a small town. We love being able to walk around St. Helena, but also Livingston has a small town feeling as
Yeah,
well.
Livingston and St. Helena are about the same size, about 6,000, 5,000, 7,000, something like that.
But just as St. Helena attracts a creative kind of person that's quite sophisticated in their taste, Livingston is becoming that as well. There's some great restaurants, interesting resorts for fly fishing, but there's just such beauty there. So
I'm excited because hopefully one day I can go then to Montana.
Yes.
I've never been.
oh yes, of course.
There's three
You've
states.
never been to Montana?
There's 3 states I've never been to in America, and that's one of them.
So are
Really?
you a fisherman?
Oh, always. Always. So, dear friends, what an exciting time to be with Elizabeth and Spencer. We're going to do many more wonderful times so you can discover them as fabulous individual, a great couple, great entrepreneurs, great visionaries for Napa Valley and Rutherford, and obviously extraordinary wines. So, as it's the holidays, we are, a week away from Christmas, and certainly from the New Year. What is your message each to the world in general? Just as wide as you want to make it. Because you're very wise and very thorough and very astute and have an incredible foundation and a great vision for the future. So what would you advise all of us?
I don't know if it's advice, but I know everybody on the planet has had a tumultuous couple of years. We're certainly still in a time of uncertainty in many aspects of all of our lives. And I think it's important to slow down and be grateful for the things we appreciate every single day: our friends, our family, our health, our ability to have great wine and food. I just feel so grateful every day that I'm blessed to be living this life and I have so much good fortune. So I would just toast people to try to accent the positive and the very best in your lives and share that with others.
Yeah.
Because if we can generate a positive energy with those we know, we can keep a whole chain of that going, even as things are difficult.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. This is
Cheers,
so
love.
much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Spencer,
Cheers.
anything you want to
I
add?
couldn't say anything better. So cheers.
It's a true couple.
Thank you all. Thank
Dear
you.
friends,
Thank you.
Bess from Napa Valley. Happy holidays.
Thank you.